Welcome to my Army Men Lore Deep Dive. This is part 2. If you missed part 1, I'll go over the gist of it. The original Army Men continuity or World War universe, for what little we do get in terms of story, is largely gritty and serious, focusing on large-scale battles between the Green and Tan Republic. The Green Army, inspired by democratic ideas, fights to defend their land from the militaristic and aggressive Tan Army. Other factions, like the Covert Ops Blue Nation and the proud guerrilla-fighting Gray Nation, also play a small role in the wars. Now we're in the Sarges Heroes universe, which represents a shift in the franchise by 3DO. Its timeline or universe serving as more of a character-focused reboot. This new direction was established by 3DO company founder Trip Hopkins and creative director Michael Medhelm, who envisioned creating a character-driven action-adventure game in the style of Super Mario. Medhelm specifically wanted to emphasize the toy aspect that was lacking in the previous games, drawing inspiration from the anime Plastic Soldiers and Toy Story. Guess that's why Little Me thought these franchises were somehow related. But yes, unlike the more serious World War series, Sarge's Heroes was designed to be fun, positive, and hopeful, with characters that could potentially spawn multimedia content. The development team focused on creating memorable personalities and more light-hearted tone, though the game still maintained military themes and action. Medhelm put it, they wanted to make games that made you laugh and feel magic. This change luckily makes finding out more about the universe and its characters all the more easier. Now, the plastic world is a native world of the plastic soldiers, featuring nations at war with each other. The setting of Sarge's Heroes games frequently moves between the real and plastic world. The plastic world, like the original games, is largely not made of plastic itself, as we see plants, trees, and oceans. Land is made up of deserts, swamps, and snowy terrain. Even the buildings, I would say, don't operate like plastic, as they typically burn rather than simply explode or melt, like the army men and their vehicles do. There are also several animals seen in this universe. Most live on one continent with small islands. Other continents likely exist with other armies, as we see what appears to be a globe in one cutscene. The world is fit to scale and stated to be 100 times smaller than the real world. The denizens, besides being plastic, seem to function like humans. They eat, sleep, and drink as we do. While shown to have no organs on the inside, they seemingly have a skeletal structure of some sort. Besides teeth, we have seen skulls. We also see they have DNA. They also seem to have colored facial hair at times. And items like pouches and cigars are often seen to be made of plastic. For their size, they are basically superhuman, in that they can survive fatal wounds, falls from high distances, and overall very durable as a plastic toy, you can say. Some things, of course, are inconsistent, like guns seem to go back and forth from being green and plastic to looking like real gun, sometimes even in the same game. We also see wood cutting and structures made of wood, meaning plastic is not the only resource. Sarge's Heroes is also pretty much a multiverse, as multiple toy worlds exist within the real world acting as a hub. Speaking of real world, it plays a huge role in this universe, as plastic in the real world can be used as material in the plastic world. It's also possible to take toys like robots and dolls from the real world and turn them into sentient weapons. How soldiers are born or created is a bit complicated. From what is seen, army men are largely molded from raw plastic, shown as a light blue Lego piece, and basically form in the same way you see in Army Men RTS in a factory. I also noticed they have no moral problem using the plastic of fallen allies and enemies for resources, meaning everything plastic can be made from their corpses. Still, characters do seem to procreate, as characters often mention or stated to have families, like fathers, mothers, brothers. It might even be possible for non-army soldiers to have children with non-army men, going by a prominent character's daughter. And when I say army men, I also do mean army women. We'll get into that in a bit. It is possible that the unnamed basic looking soldiers are molded while named characters are born, but the games don't make this distinction clear, so it's only a theory. Green and tan, while they can't turn into each other, they can change size by painting their bodies or replacing parts. Okay, I'm saying this after the video is almost finished, but I found out that even though it's technically considered a form of mind control, the Tan Army built a machine that basically spit out captured green soldiers and dropped them in a vault of tan paint, turning them effectively into tan soldiers. So yes, being just the color itself is enough to turn you from one side to the other. Very interesting. There are also cases of leaders using better materials and DNA of elite soldiers to create a super soldier, or even assemble body parts to make zombies or mutants. People in the real world have never interacted with toys, aside from dogs. While soldiers can freely move and interact in the real world for long periods of time, overexposure risks plastification, becoming a regular non-living toy unable to move, speak, or act. The process can be accelerated or reversed. It seems it can also bring real-world toys to life and allow for longer exposure, as we see soldiers set up bases in the real world. It's either something that was cured later on, or just a dropped concept. The Green Nations are the heroes of the plastic world and serve as protagonists in every game. Their territory spans the northern mountains, western deserts, southern swamps and bayous and islands. The capital is Greentown, the only named city in the franchise, and it's assumed that the president and civilians live there. Later in the series, both Tan and Green have controlled land in the real world. The nation operates as a democratic paramilitary republic. Their national motto is liberty, democracy, good government, and their anthem is the land we love, the freedom we treasure. The Green Nation is based on the US and Western Europe, but it's clearly a parody of military culture with exaggerated stereotypes and design. The nation is led by the Green President, though he's only mentioned once, presumably the highest authority. Also mentioned once is a chief of staff, but 99% of the time orders come from Colonel Jack Happy Grimm, who we'll discuss later. Their weapons range from World War I, World War II, to Vietnam-era tanks, artillery, aircraft, and naval units. They are heavily outnumbered by the Tan forces. It is stated that they are outnumbered 50 or 100 to 1. And on the verge of defeat at the start of Sarge's Heroes 1. While seemingly not comparable to the Tan scientists, the Green do have scientists of their own and have the ability to create huge machines and living dolls. We don't 100% know how long the war has been going for the Green and Tan, but at least one bio mentions a character fighting in the jungle wars of the 60s. Assuming the game takes place the year of release, the war has lasted for over 30 years, though that's completely speculative. However, during a peace ceremony, it is mentioned that the war has lasted 20 years, so at least 2 decades, with other wars happening on and off possibly. Beyond military, something I forgot to mention in part 1 is Green Army News, a show created to keep the civilians informed about the military actions and ongoing events. Green Army News often features real footage, well, real to them, and serves as a in-universe propaganda for the Greens and the story lore dump for the player. A journalist working for Green News is Vicky Grimm, daughter of Jack Happy Grimm. She is also a competent soldier herself, shown to be a step or two only below Sarge. The soldiers, for what I can find, are all voiced by legendary Jim Cummings about 90% of the time, whether to save money or because he's just perfect for the role. He's a huge part of the series and his personality. Honestly, I probably wouldn't have even noticed they sounded the same if I didn't research it. I'm going to go over the characters, and for the characters it will be a mix of bios and my personal thoughts put together. It's funny, there are like 2 characters worth mentioning in part 1, but here is a whole different story. Let's start with Sarge himself. Sarge is the leader of Bravo Company, the best of the best. The enemy flat out states the Green Army would be finished without him. Sarge, or Sergeant Hawk, is the stereotypical tough, grizzled soldier, but unlike the classic Sarge, he has a strong goofiness to him. His vibe is all around military, instead of the kind of came across as a Duke Nukem character in the Tetris game. Though he leads a squad, he is also called a one-man invasion force, with his battlefield ferocity compared to Attila the Hun, a statement which raises a lot of questions that I'll ignore. He is described as having the brains, brawn, and bravery to lead his squad into the mouth of fear and come out victorious, embodying the Green Army's determination to protect their world from the 10 Menace. His motivation for fighting: when he was young, he witnessed his father being killed or turned to goo by the 10. Sarge also had a brother whose name I'm not really sure I can actually say here, but he also died in the war. Again, while age has not been stated, we know he has been fighting the 10 for most of his life, and like the classic Sarge, has nothing but bloodlust when it comes to the 10 and anyone who sides with them, though he was still happy about the peace treaty. Sarge cares a lot for his soldiers and his girlfriend Vicky, seeing them as part of his family. While accuracy isn't expected in a game like this, the helmet he refuses to strap on is that of a buck sergeant, meaning he's recently promoted in the lowest NCO level. Not that it matters that much, but it's a fun little detail I noticed. Now, let's get to the rest of the squad. Scorch, the flamethrower specialist. Scorch has an intense, borderline unhinged love for fire, embracing the flamethrower while most soldiers fear it. He takes joy in melting 10 soldiers down to bubbling plastic, making him a terrifying but effective part of Bravo Company's arsenal. While I'm not sure about the rest of the games, in Army Men RTS, Scorch is pretty much the only character that uses a flamethrower, which really highlights how dangerous the thing can be, and how crazy you have to be to use it. Sharp, motor specialist, a laid-back surfer dude turned military man. Sharp is happiest dropping heavy motor shells on the enemy. Dick, machine gunner. Dick is a large, strong soldier with a simple mind and a big heart. He wields the M60 like a weed whacker on the dandelions, providing heavy suppressive fire. While not the brightest, his enthusiasm and raw firepower invaluable to the front lines. Riff, bazooka specialist. Riff is Sarge's best friend and Bravo Company's heaviest hitter, wielding a bazooka to take down 10 armor and facilities. Off the battlefield, he plays bazooka blues on his saxophone, but in combat, he is all business, bringing explosive force where it is needed. Hoover, minesweeper. Hoover is the squad's geeky but essential minesweeper, handling one of the most dangerous jobs in Bravo Company. Easily startled, but precise and careful, Hoover clears paths through minefields, ensuring the team's survival in hazardous areas. Bullseye, sharpshooter and the newest member. Bullseye is the newest member of Bravo Company, serving as the Iceman, sharpshooter whose keen aim allows him to eliminate 10 soldiers before they realize they're under threat. Cool under pressure, Bullseye's precision and composure makes him a very versatile member of the Bravo Company. Some notable things I would say is the strongest of the group is Riff, and if she counts Vicky, throughout the series, they're the most useful. Bullseye was only seen in RTS, and the only member of Bravo Company not seen dying at the ceremony. Then there's their leader, Colonel Jack Happy Grimm. He's the wise, battle-hardened commander of Bravo Company, known for his stern demeanor and strategic brilliance. Grimm has seen countless battles and military soldiers molded and melted in the ongoing war against the 10. Despite his tough exterior, he's deeply compassionate and fatherly, especially towards Sarge, whom he treats as a son. Grimm's personal life is also central to the story. Father of Vicky Grimm, the franchise's first prominent female soldier, and a field reporter. Grimm's dream of a peaceful plastic world where Sarge and Vicky can settle down, but he knows war is inevitable. and remains committed to ending the tan threat once and for all. And that leads us to Vicky Grimm. Wanted to save her for last, as she's the most interesting character in terms of what the company saw in her. First, why isn't she green? In universe, she's likely half army soldier, half female toy Barbie-like character. A creator of the game at least joked about that being the case. Her mother is never seen and died before the events of the game. The out-of-universe explanation is that the developers wanted to give her sex appeal. They saw huge potential in her character, enough to give her a spin-off. She's basically a mix of Lara Croft and Lois Lane, and 3DO planned to make her a breakout star and tried to shoot her popularity into orbit beyond the army men. In the real world, her face is seen, suggesting she's based on a popular toy, which hints at a Toy Story-like situation where characters are real in a certain context. Vicky herself is essentially a weaker, more agile version of Sarge, able to use her sex appeal to manipulate enemies. She's the only named reporter for Green News, which makes sense given her direct access to Colonel Grimm. She's a busy woman. That's it for Bravo Company, but if you thought that was it for the Green Soldiers, then how dare you forget the badass that is Captain William Blade. Captain Blade and his team, the Alpha Wolf Battalion, are the Green Army's last line of defense in the sky, fighting to protect the plastic world's vital resources from Plastro's army. Captain Blade is the Green Army's top helicopter ace, born to fly with military heroism in his blood. After graduating at the top of his Air Cavalry class, Blade joined the Alpha Wolf Battalion, living for thrill and victory and taking any risk necessary to save Green's lives. Confident, dashing, and unshakably optimistic, Blade lets his flying and trigger finger do the talking. Do they call it a trigger finger in the Air Force? I guess technically it's a trigger. Anyway, proving himself one of the bravest pilots in the Green Army. As Plastro's 10 forces threatens Green supply lines and airspace, Blade becomes the frontline hero needed to protect the Green Nation's vital plastic resources and to confront aerial threats like the deadly Baron Bombay. Blade is basically the Sarge of the sky. Without him, the Green Army would be doomed. And if the logo is anything to go by for identifying Blade, he's helped save Sarge's life numerous times in and out of his games. Like Sarge, his father seemingly died in battle, though Blade believes he may still be alive. Perhaps it would have been a plot in a potential Army Man 3. Guess we'll never know. The difference between Blade and Sarge is that Blade has much more ego, tends to ignore orders, and is more laid back about command. Air Force pilots do tend to have egos. Apparently that's something you kinda need to have a lot of confidence to really get in the air like that, but I don't really know. Now, he cares deeply for his country and his men. His love interest is Bombshell. She is the only known female Green Soldier. She is like Vicky, but in this case, she is chasing after him, while he is in-game and in-scene flirts with Vicky. Also, unlike Sarge, he would basically have a foil, someone comparable to him, which is rare as the Tans are more about numbers and skill. Now his co-pilots and fellow airmen, the Alpha Wolf Battalion. Lieutenant John Lawless Hooligan. His specialty is airstrikes, using bombing runs to devastate large groups of 10 forces. When you need a wave of enemies cleared, Hooligan is the Green Army's go-to for heavy firepower and crowd control. He is also easily the ugliest character in the series. Dave Parker, Rawhide, is Green Army's rocket launcher cowboy, as comfortable firing rockets as he is on a cattle drive. Riding in a helicopter feels easy compared to taming a bucking bronco, and Rawhide prefers the straightforward power of rockets to deal with Tan Army's toughest threats. He's dependable in the fight, bringing rugged, no-nonsense approach to blasting enemy forces while embodying the wild spirit of the Green Nation's best commanders. Woodstock is calm under pressure and always has Blade's back. His specialty is deploying green paratroopers who excel at chasing down and eliminating enemy forces. Woodstock's tactical sense and loyalty make him invaluable asset to the team. He was replaced by Blade's best friend, Tyrone Livingston, also known as Woodstock. And if you want to know what Jim Cummings sounds like doing a stereotypical Jamaican accent, here you go. And finally, Lieutenant Felicity Wanamaker. Bombshell has dreamed of flying with his true love, Captain Blade, and will do anything to support him. She specializes in napalm attacks, perfect for burning down tan fortifications and heavy armor, and is known to melt the hearts, while she melts the enemy defenses. Looking at Bombshell, they definitely made the right call making Vicky flesh tone, which is not saying that Bombshell is ugly, just that the green makes the character's features really hard to see. Like Blade is supposed to be handsome, while to me looking like a Dale Gribble with a cowboy hat. Okay, apparently it's not a cowboy hat. It is something related to the military, perhaps not Air Force, but the cross rifle is apparently related to being a sergeant of some sort. Also, notice her special firepower is napalm, so maybe her nickname should be Warcrying. Her official bio calls her tough but tender. Ironically reads like a Tinder bio. Man, I wish we got more of these characters. It's never stated they got together, as the game ends with her getting friend-zoned pretty hard.
I want to thank you personally, Bombshell. Your support and friendship carried me through this.
Really? It did?
Really, it did.
Perhaps to push a future Vicky relationship. Honestly, the Air Attacks games, nostalgia aside, were easily better than the Heroes games. Army Men Air Attack 2, at least for me, is right up there with Army Men RTS. By the way, while the Hero games don't have the wild death animations, the cover for Army Men Air Attack 1 is pretty wild. And finally, the Omega Soldier, created by Green Army's Advanced Research Division, also known as GUARD. The Omega Soldier is a bio-experiment combining the plastic DNA of all 6 members of Bravo Company, including Sarge and the other heroes. This fusion was designed to produce the ultimate one-man army, capable of taking on overwhelming enemy forces with enhanced strength and durability and combat skill. Basically, the war was going so bad, they created their own Captain America. Likely the only soldier better than Sergeant Hawk. Moving on to other nations, the Grey Nation. The Grey Nation is largely unimportant in this universe, seems to be on the green side. The one exception is Dr. Mad, a mad scientist who creates plastic zombies using special modes and machines in his island base to raise an undead army for Plastro. He also creates armies of bugs and arachnids from captured soldiers, even trying to fuse soldiers with bugs. The Blue Nation. The Blue Nation doesn't directly wage full-scale war like the Green and Tan, but instead act as spies, saboteurs, and black market opportunists, striking deals with whoever benefits them the most. They're basically mercenaries and can be seen fighting alongside Green or Tan in the franchise, but they mostly side with the Tan as resource gatherers. The most noteworthy Blue in the entire franchise is Bridget Blue. She's the classic sexy female spy stereotype, collaborating with the Tan army and occasionally with the Greens if it suits her. She's loyal to her Blue Nation and uses her charm and manipulation to get what she wants. She has a love for Sarge, making her a rival to Vicky, but perhaps has a greater love for herself, as her true goal is domination. She nearly conquered several worlds at one point, making her one of the most dangerous characters in the whole franchise. Finally, the Tan Army. While somewhat ambiguous in the older games, in the Sarge's Heroes universe, they are both stated and self-proclaimed to be evil. Led by the ruthless General Plastro, and the Tan Republic is depicted as a fascist military dictatorship bent on conquest and domination, of the plastic world. While the Greens rely on elite soldiers, the Tan rely on overwhelming force, resources, and numbers. Beyond greatly outnumbering the Greens, they also have superior technology, using portals to the real world to multiply and enhance their military forces, including sentient robots and super weapons like a magnifying glass, giant wind-up dog frogs that fire missiles. Their military is largely the same beyond that, but their use of real-world resources simply magnify their production well beyond the Green Nation. And we see how the army is made by a factory that reshapes plastic into vehicles. While Plastro doesn't have a Bravo Company equivalent, it is mentioned once that he does have an elite guard. Known figures beyond General Plastro is Field Marshal Tenenberg, one of the highest ranking officers in the Tan Army, a more cold and calculated than Plastro. He is a more serious character. Plastro himself is more cartoonish, and honestly, all I hear is the cat from Cat Dog when he talks. He assumes command of the Tan Army and becomes the main antagonist for much of the game's story. Capturing him is said to bring about the end of the war between the Green and the Tan. He is either just above or below Plastro in rank. By title, I believe he should be above Plastro, but the games don't really make that clear. Colonel Blitz, once a respected Green officer, he suffered a massive disfiguring head wound in battle. After his injury, he disappeared and resurfaced as a Tan commander, bringing many loyal Green soldiers with him. Those who refused to follow were melted down for scrap. He reminds me of AWOL Colonel in the Tactics games, as he has some self-awareness of being just a toy. Baron Bombay, also known as the Tan Baron, is the most feared pilot in the Tan Army, serving as one of General Plastro's second in command, created using a special mode and a lot of resources to be the perfect aerial combatant. At Plastro's behest, due to his tactical mind and industrial brilliance, the Baron is placed in charge of managing supply chains for Tan factories and refineries, a role he views as beneath his talents. Rather than focus on logistics, he would rather challenge Captain Blade. He flies a World War I biplane, which stands out as silly even in this universe. He also creates massive fortresses. Perhaps the biggest building shown in the game is a building that powers his barrier, that pretty much makes him invincible. Losing Baron would be a massive setback for the Tan Army. The Baron also, when he defeats you, he drops a flag with his initials on it, which is honestly impressive to do so perfectly while he's in the air. Honestly, the Baron is probably my favorite Tan character in the franchise. He's just so cartoonish and sassy. He taunts Blade by telling him he will add Bombshell as part of his collection, hinting that he has a harem. So yeah, Baron Bombay is just the best. And finally, Lord Malice. When the war finally ends, the Tan Army is forced to sign a peace agreement. Malice, however, has other plans. He uses the peace ceremony to detonate a bomb, killing Plastro, the Colonel, and all the heroes, even Vicky, though Bullseye is not seen among the bodies. Malice was once Major Gooding, a respected member of the Green Army and leader of Sarge's squad. During a past mission, Sarge believed Gooding was dead and called in an airstrike, unaware that Gooding was alive. The Tan eventually found him and transformed him into a vengeful Lord Malice. Driven by a deep grudge against Sarge, Malice steals infantry mold, allowing him to build his own army and continue his campaign. Sarge's quest in Sarge's war is to hunt down Lord Malice, recover the stolen molds, and avenge his fallen comrades. The story ends with Sarge confronting Malice, who reveals his true identity before dying from his wounds. To end this video, I'll go over the other minor nations and where the series is right now. The Orange Nation mentioned, but nothing is really known except they're seemingly an enemy of the Tan. The Red Nation, another enemy of the Tan, used for experiments when captured. The Black Nation may exist, but could also just be an enemy referred to only in multiplayer, as a palette swap. The last thing canon, as far as I can see, to Army Men is Army Men Toy Wars. Where do I begin? Well, what's similar is the theme of green versus tan, with the green as the good guys. Plastic is still a key resource and soldiers are still referred to as molded. That's about it really. Sadly, there's no real connection to the main franchise. The wiki says Hawk and Plastro are in the game, but I can't find them anywhere. Instead, the protagonist is a human turned toy soldier, and the villain is Colonel Destruction. There's also a straight up evil Buzz Lightyear, so it still has that Toy Story inspiration going for it. Other heroes are very human looking plastic toy characters, including one with a robot arm and another female army soldier, Victoria. There's also Lu Bu in Mega Man. Yes, this is a tower defense freemium game I will never play, and that's pretty much where the series and this video ends. Playing these games for research really highlights what could have been. Most were far from great, but there were some highlights like Army Men RTS, which you can play on Steam, and Army Men Air Attack 1 and 2. Those games are on the latter end, so they were getting better, and they always had potential to be great, but ultimately bad corporate decisions led to 3DO's downfall. 2K Games owns the rights now, I believe, so maybe they'll remaster these games in the future, or at least put more on Steam. Maybe shoot them a tweet or something. Anyway, I might do a video on how future Army games could survive in the modern era, but that's for another day. For now, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, comment, and hit the bell. Later.